Okay, I think we got everything all set up. Hey everybody, Backpack Hack here coming at you with another trail tip, and today we're going to be testing the theory that the temperature of a fuel canister has an effect on how well it performs a specific task. The task today is to take 2 cups of room temperature water and bring it to a boil. The theory is that a cold canister uses more fuel. A warm canister uses less. So we're going to test that in a highly unscientific but as controlled as I possibly can experiment. Everything you see here has been sitting out here on this table since last night, with the exception of the canister underneath this towel. I just took it out of the freezer and put it on this stove. Otherwise, everything has been sitting out here. The temperature of the water is 63.2 degrees Fahrenheit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the water into these 2 identical boil pots, put them onto these 2 identical stoves, and I'm going to light them up and bring them to a boil using this thermometer to test the temperature of the water. If this theory holds true, this canister should use more fuel. I'm going to weigh them with the base and the stove connected, weigh them as a unit, simply because we all know that when you put a stove on or off a canister or hook anything up, there's that little puff of gas that lets out. If I weigh them as a unit, then I don't have that little puff of gas putting the stove on and off to skew the results. So I think we're all ready to go. I'm going to do this without the lids on the boil pots. Yes, you should put a lid on when you're boiling water, simply to save fuel, but I just simply want to see if there's a difference. We're not trying to conserve energy in keeping the heat here in the container. We're simply trying to see whether this frozen canister will use more fuel to boil its 2 cups of water as opposed to this room temperature canister. Now, the only difference between these 2 cups is one is larger than the other. They still contain 2 cups, and you can see that there on the edge. Now, I guess I could turn this one around. There's the 2 cups on that side. So let's go ahead and weigh these, and we will get started. The start weight of our room temperature canister is 331 grams. The start weight of our frozen canister, and I'm going to get rid of this now, is 331 grams. So now, let's pour our 2 cups of water into these boil pots. And I'm using 2 identical boil pots, 2 identical stoves. The only difference between the fuel canisters is one is room temperature and the other is frozen. I'm going to center these as best I can for equal results. There may be a little difference, and that's why I say this is a totally unscientific experiment. But let's go ahead and take a temperature reading of the fuel canisters. This one is 71.8. And this one is 37 degrees. It's warmed up quite a bit because it was about -4 when I took it out of the freezer. So let's go ahead and light these. And I'm just going to open the valve all the way. We simply monitor the temperature until we find out which one uses more fuel. That's already up to 91 and 95. So this one seems to be doing a better job. There's bubbles on the bottom of these. In case you're wondering about the stoves, these are E-Tech City. They are kind of a knockoff of the high-end Snow Peaks. They're a good unit. I don't have any problem with them. I don't use them all the time. I prefer a Snow Peak Gigapower 2, but these work just fine for this experiment because the stove itself is kind of one of those things that doesn't matter. We're up to 108 here and 119 here. So This one is coming up a little bit faster. Now I'm going to probably have to edit some of this out because you don't want to sit here and watch 2 minutes of water boiling. 171.4, 158.8. So our room temperature canister is actually heating the water up faster, but that's not the purpose of this test. We want to see if this canister at room temperature uses less fuel than this one. So let's go ahead and take a temperature reading. This one's down to 56.6. This one is up to 41.6. You can see this one's starting to shake because it's getting a good boil. 208, 189. We've got a good roiling boil here, 219 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and shut that one off. That one's already at 219 degrees. This one is still at 196. 198.6. We're getting a good rolling boil, 214.4. So we are boiling on both of these. I'm going to go ahead and pull these off. And now we are going to weigh our canisters to see if there's any difference. Our room temperature canister now weighs 320. And the moment of truth, our freezer canister now weighs 323. That is totally unexpected. 323, 323, 320. So this one used 11, whereas the freezer only used 8. There's our results, folks. Totally unscientific. Was not what I was expecting. I was told that a cold canister uses more fuel. Yes, it took more time, but it seems like this frozen one, which is now 38.8 degrees, where the room temperature one is 62.8. Although this frozen canister took longer, it actually used less weight. That was totally surprising. I mean, check my numbers. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me check these again. Let me restart this and turn this on and off and try it again. This is our room temperature canister. 320, which is that, whoopsie, knock things over. 324. So our cold canister actually used less weight. So yes, it does make a difference, but in this scientific experiment, or rather unscientific experiment, I will say that actually the cold canister used less fuel. Why? I don't know. But there's the results, folks. You saw it here. So this is Backpack Hack coming at you with this trail tip. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share my videos. Be safe out there, and I'll see you out on the trail.